Hey, and we got
He's looking at you, kids.
You had me at hello.
I wish I knew how to quit eating bugs.
This seems so
Then fun.
There's no place like home.
I'm gonna make him an offer down with you.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Gone Off the Wind. It's going to be a fun day. We're going to be doing our final Oscar predictions. We've also got a couple of awards that we just announced. One that was I just noticed that was announced like sometime today.
Ace Eddies.
Yeah. But we've got Dan here. Dan, how's it going?
I stole your thunder on the Ace Eddies, Malcolm. Just before we started recording today, I got the notification on the Ace Eddies. So I didn't mean to steal your thunder. I was like, I was right in the middle of saying, "Hey, we got the Ace Eddies today," and then you hit the button to start the show. So, but yeah, I figured you must have seen it because you're always up on the up on all the different awards announcements and stuff like that. But yeah, man. This is the show we've been leading towards all year. We always, when you're doing Gone with the Wind, you're waiting to do one thing, and one thing is to give your final Oscar predictions, and then you have to be patient and hopefully you get as many right as you possibly can. I have a good feeling about it, so we'll see what happens. But I also got a couple text messages from our buddy Daniel Montgomery. I'm going to read his text messages when the time comes and give you a couple of his hot takes and things. He wasn't able to come on the show tonight, but I keep in touch with him, and I asked him if he had any hot takes, and I got a couple of his hot takes. So we're going to read some of Daniel Montgomery's hot takes.
Lewis, how are you going today?
I'm doing pretty good. In the middle of a Nolan binge. I've seen Doom 2 twice now. So I'm doing pretty good on that front. And I am ready to try to see if I can pull off the miracle of beating my all-time record of 2 years ago when I only got 2 wrong. So, and hopefully doing a lot better than last year when I went I think I got 16 right, which isn't bad, but isn't great. So
21 for 23 last year, Lewis.
You went 21 for 23? See, that was me 2 years ago. So I'm hoping to come close. But we'll see, because even though I've been saying this over and over again, everybody's getting caught up in, it's over. Most of these above the line races have been decided. There's still a lot of close below the line stuff going on that's going to make or break people's predictions.
And we're going to keep a record of everybody's picks for every category. So we have a record, so we can't lie and say, I didn't pick that or whatever. We're going to put it right in the Gone with the Wind chat right here. I got it loaded up, ready to go. So if you give me something, I'm putting it in here, and that's going to be your pick.
Anyway, we haven't done this in a while, but because we've got a pretty light bunch of stuff to talk about. Dan, what have you watched in the past week?
Well, opposite of Lewis here, I actually have been in the middle of a Jim Carrey binge. I've watched 10 Jim Carrey movies in the last 4 days because I got a podcast I'm doing this week, and it's going to be the first episode of a series, new series that I'm doing, and the first subject of that new series is Jim Carrey, and we're splitting that into 3 episodes. So I've been watching all of Jim Carrey's comedies. I just got finished watching Me, Myself, and Irene, and Fun with Dick and Jane, and Ace Ventura, and Liar Liar, and Yes Man, and all the fun Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, all those fun Jim Carrey movies. And all I could think about by watching them is, wow, these movies really remind me of myself a lot. It's kind of a cookie cutter theme he has in a lot of his movies. But sometimes you got to get away from the awards contenders, Malcolm, and just have fun and just watch something that has nothing to do with the drama of awards season. And so I'm having a blast revisiting one of my favorite actors of all time, Jim Carrey. He's he's just incredible. The guy is just one of the funniest guys. I also saw Land of Bad with Russell Crowe and Liam Neeson, a good modern day kind of war movie involving drones and stuff like that, and college basketball, which is weird. There's a subplot of college basketball in this movie. Also, I got to watch 5 Pounds of Pressure with Luke Evans, where he's in prison for killing somebody, and then he gets out of prison and he has to try to acclimate into society. And it takes place, I think, in like Hell's Kitchen, New York, and it's got a few like interconnecting stories from other characters, and it bounces around between the 3 characters. Very interesting movie. That I'm under embargo for that one till Wednesday. Also, One Life, which is I'm under embargo for next week, but it's already played in England. It's already out there. Anybody could watch it if you know where to go to look for it. It's got Anthony Hopkins, and he's a gentleman who it's split between modern day him as an old guy and then himself as a younger man during World War II in Czechoslovakia, where he tries to save hundreds and hundreds of children from the impending invasion of the Nazis into Czechoslovakia. Very good. Probably the type of movie, if it didn't come out now, it may have kind of gotten Anthony Hopkins maybe a supporting actor role because he's really good in it. But I think he's going to get completely forgotten. He might get a BAFTA next year or something like that. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, if it's already come out in Britain, because I believe it came out last year.
Yeah.
So
maybe he didn't get a BAFTA then. So there you go.
I think he ended up making. I want to say he actually ended up making the long list.
Yes, there you go. So yeah, One Life. And then I was talking about beforehand. I did see, and I'm under embargo for this, so I can't get into too many details. Arthur the King, which is a movie about Mark Wahlberg, who's into adventure racing, and he ends up with a 5th member of his team called Arthur, and it's a very emotional movie. If you're a dog lover, you're gonna love it. If you're a Mark Wahlberg fan, you're gonna love it. You mix dogs and Mark Wahlberg, and you actually got a kind of feel-good movie here with Arthur the King. Also, Shogun. I got the first 2 episodes of Shogun, and I'll tell you right now, this is an incredible, incredible show. It's on Hulu. It's airing. You could watch. I saw the first 2 episodes before they aired on Hulu, but this show is incredible. It's a remake of a miniseries that came out in 1980, which was based on the book that came out, James Clavell, I think 75 or something like that. If you're into samurais, if you're into like feudal Japan and like Kurosawa and this kind of stuff, you're absolutely going to love this. It's got some great actors in it. Some of the best Japanese actors. Anna Sawai, who was in Monarch Legacy of Monsters, she's in it. And if you like Monarch, you're going to love her in this. She's fantastic. Also, the guy, he was in John Wick 4. He was in Avengers Endgame. Sanjaro. I can't think of the guy's first name.
Sanada.
Yeah, Sonata. How'd you know? Good job, Malcolm. Thank you. I can't get people's names right. Hiroyuki Sanada. He's in it, and he's fantastic. I cannot recommend Shogun enough. Oh, my God. What a great, great, great show. Also, the final episodes of North Country, HBO's True Detective North Country. You know, these things are just crazy. They're just wild, and they just go in all these different directions. This is set in Alaska. It's freezing cold. There's a giant storm, but there's all kinds of craziness going on. And the lady that did that scene, she got picked up. She's going to do another season of True Detective. So it's interesting to see where she goes. She brings any older characters back or whatever. That was very, very good. True Detective North Country. Jodie Foster, who was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for Nyad. Also, Code 8, Part 1 and Part 2. Not very good. Like a futuristic police force with kind of superhero people walking around and stuff. Both Stephen Amell and his brother, both are in that. That wasn't that good. Spaceman, what the hell was freaking Spaceman? Adam Sandler talking to an alien while his wife is on Earth pregnant. I'll tell you right. And Paul Dano plays the alien creature or whatever. just the wildest, wackiest thing you ever. But it's kind of cool, calm. Adam Sandler, really, he's kind of like doing a dramatic performance here. But the movie as a whole isn't that great. Very good though. Production value, visual effects, stuff like that are pretty interesting. Because I've seen some really bad movies where it's set where somebody's on like a satellite or something like that, and they look terrible. This actually looks really good. It's got really good cinematography. I just think it lost me with the alien creature, with Paul Dano voicing an alien creature. But I said enough. I'm going to let Lewis go. Lewis, you go.
I will add, I do find it weird that you get put under embargo for movies like One Life, where they've already been out in other countries already. It's like,
I know.
So, I mean,
I know.
But Lewis, what did you watch in the past week?
Well, in the past week, I saw. I'm looking at my diary here. I caught up with Bob Marley, One Love, which was decent. I think some of the reviews have been a little bit too rough on it, but I do think that it ended up kind of being a pretty generic biopic in some respects. That being said, the performance by Kingsley Ben-Adir was really good. I think he embodied Bob Marley really well. Lisa Frankenstein, on paper, this should have been my thing, but it just the clashing in tones just was not. It just did not work for me. I was really kind of disappointed by that one. Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate, a massive drop in quality from the first Megamind. Like, I mean, it literally went from a well done animated feature to just this cheap made for TV movie trying to get you to buy into the new Peacock TV series. It's honestly insulting to the Megamind fans what they did with this. I caught up with Spaceman as well, and I was more positive on it than Dan was. I thought it was pretty decent. I think a lot of the themes that were going on in regards to Adam Sandler and Carey Mulligan's issues hit close to home with me with some of the personal stuff that I've been dealing with over the last year. I did like the way he was bonding with Paul Dano's spider creature. I thought that was the visual effects on it are really good. Adam Sandler is good as his unusually restrained performance. And I've been doing a Nolan binge. I caught up with. I actually fixed a blind spot during that binge and watched Memento for the first time. Great movie. I can see why it lives up to the hype. And I rewatched Dune Part 2. I actually did a double feature watching Dune 1 and 2 yesterday.
I've done that this week as well, Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, Dune 2, or I have to say is that this is the Empire Strikes Back of the Gen Z generation. This is I cannot wait to see how Denny wraps this up, because he has decided to basically turn this into a trilogy.
Messiah.
We're using Doom Messiah. Now, there are some changes to the source material that people will notice at the end, but I have some theories on what Denny's doing with that, and I think he's going to try to make things a little bit more crowd pleasing than the way Messiah ends book wise. But this is, without a shadow of a doubt, the early front runner for what's going to be in a lot of people's picks for the best film of the year, and probably the early front runner for Best Picture, even though obviously we're super early into that. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been catching the last week.
For me, I was actually I did watch a whole bunch of Arnold Schwarzenegger movies in the past week, just because we did rank him on him earlier. I watched the majority. I sort of rewatched the first two Terminator movies, and then I watched the all the rest of the franchise for the first time. And I mean, I'm still not as high on Terminator 2 as I was there. I think it's fine. But I actually didn't take any of the sequels in it. I thought the sequels were decent. I I don't think they're as bad as people have been saying. I also finally caught up with American Fiction, and I did like it. I haven't updated my 2023 rankings to see where it lands. Probably would land quite high, but I don't think it will make my top 10 though.
How much laughing were you doing? That's the question, Malcolm. On the
I didn't-
on the laugh-o-meter, 1 out of 10, how much laughing were you doing?
Probably about 3. I thought it was
What?
Look, I didn't. It's a good movie. I didn't find it that funny. I saw it more as a drama with a little bit of comedy thrown in. So,
Yeah. Okay.
So, I know it was campaigning for the comedy things, but it's one of those ones like I would argue it's more drama than comedy. But
Did you laugh at the first joke though? The first gag about the N-word and all that stuff.
not really.
Like the girl's saying she's offended by that word, and there's a dude sitting next to her, and then the teacher goes, which is Jeffrey Wright. He's, if I can get over it, you can get over it. You didn't laugh.
Well,
at that?
I mean, it's one of those ones like I think I laughed a little bit at it, but I just didn't think it was that funny.
All right.
But,
All right. Never mind.
I started watching today the movie Suncoast, but I haven't got finished it, so I don't really have much of an opinion on it at the moment. I've only got half an hour through.
That's over in Lewis's neck of the woods.
Yeah,
Right, Lewis?
yeah. I mean,
Stillwater.
super early front runner for our Central Florida
Film of the
film
year.
of the year. We'll see what else we get.
But yeah, the other ones I watched both Roleplay and Upgraded on Amazon Prime. I thought they were decent. They're probably not going to end up in my top 10 at the end of the year, but they were fine. But with that being said, we're going to move into awards. And yesterday we got the winners for the Cinema Audio Society, which I believe is the awards for sound mixing. Oppenheimer got the motion picture one, and Spyverse got animated. Dan, what are your thoughts about Cinema Audio Society winners?
These make complete sense. There's no surprise here. This sounds like, I mean, the only thing that could, and we'll get into our predictions here pretty soon, is possibly Zone of Interest sneaking into sound, which I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's a chance it could get that award for sound, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Oppenheimer's going to win, and I think that because you have the two categories, Spider-Verse does make a lot of sense. It was a very, very good sounding movie. The music and the voices and all the background stuff was really good. So these par for the course for sound.
Lewis, what are your thoughts about the Cinema Audio Society winners?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to follow up what Dan said because honestly, I mean, we're going to be talking a lot more about this when we get to the predictions. But yeah, I agree with him. Maybe there's a chance that Zone could upset, but it is looking like Oppenheimer's to lose.
Yeah. Like there's like nothing overly surprising here. Because it just shows that like they do like a lot of the technical stuff for Spider-Verse, and it wasn't really up there against that strong contenders when sound wise anyway. Like I think it was up against these usual suspects that are in the animated category anyway. And yeah, so I mean Spider-Verse is always really good when it comes to the sound mixing. But moving on to the USC Script Award came out as well, which is for adapted screenplays, and the winner of that was American Fiction. Lewis, what are your thoughts about American Fiction winning the USC Script Award?
Well, I mean, it is looking more and more like American Fiction is looking really well to win that adapted screenplay. It's really just keeps beating Oppenheimer when it comes to the screenplay. I've been reading the anonymous Oscar ballots. As we all know, small sample size, take them with a grain of salt. But there have been a lot of people have been praising the screenplay and I think want to award it. When we get to our predictions, I will make the case that maybe there's still a chance that Oppenheimer pulls off the upset. If Oppenheimer ends up just dominating the night, I could see like a situation where there's a coattail effect and it helps Oppenheimer actually pull off an upset here. But it is looking like American Fiction is settling in as our clear favorite for adapted screenplay. Because it got BAFTA, it got Critics' Choice. It's just looking like the one to beat here.
Yeah, American Fiction is looking pretty strong and adapted. And it's one of those ones like could go either way. Like who knows, like how much love the Academy has for this screenplay, but they must have some love of it, otherwise it wouldn't get nominated at all. But yeah, Dan,
it won. I just want to make the point that it won at BAFTA as the only nomination for that movie, and we all know about BAFTA's history when it comes to stories of people of color. So that goes to show you just how strong the screenplay has been hitting.
Yeah, but Dan, what are your thoughts about American Fiction winning this USC Scripter Award?
Well, first of all, it's about writing. Second of all, the awards are USC Scripters. Third of all, it's a fantastic, whip smart, just incredible screenplay that just is snappy from the moment you start watching that movie. It's snappy. All the dialogue is snappy, funny. I think this has got a legitimate shot of winning the Oscar. And I was on the Oppenheimer chain for the longest time, and Lewis can tell you that. I might have to switch over to American Fiction here because this is 3 strikes and you're out for Oppenheimer, if you ask me. If you go with the Critics' Choice, BAFTA, and now this. That's 3 strikes and you're out if you're Oppenheimer.
The only possibility that Oppenheimer would have been able to show any live here is WGA, and as we all know, we won't get those until after the Oscars.
Yeah,
that's gonna mess up a lot of people in that category.
But moving on, and as Dan alluded, the AC Eddies came out not too long before we started recording, and the winners for AC Eddies. For feature film drama, it went to Oppenheimer. For feature film comedy, it went to The Holdovers. For feature film animated, it went to Spider-Verse. And for feature film documentary, it went to Still a Michael J. Fox Story. So Oppenheimer getting makes sense. Holdovers, I think, is great. I think the editing is great, and it makes sense for comedy. Spider-Verse, once again, it's not overly surprising as a front runner in the animated category as it is, and it is really great edited movie. Still, a Michael J. Fox story surprised me a little bit. Not because I don't think the documentary is good, but it's just one of those ones. Like, I do think it has decent editing, but it does surprise me that it beat out 20 Days of Mariupol, which I haven't seen thing, but what I've heard is the editing is great on that. But it does make me wonder if 20 Days of Mariupol is actually beatable. But Dan, what are your thoughts about the winners for the AC Eddies?
Yeah, I mean, I hate using the same cliche all the time, but this is par for the course. I was glad. Actually, I want to say that I think Michael J. Fox is still a Michael J. Fox story has great editing, because you got to remember it's editing from him as a talking head. It's going back and forth between archival footage, and it's going to other people and other things, other like clips from other TV shows and all kinds of stuff. And they edit all that together to make a fantastic documentary. So if anything, I would have think maybe 20 Days Beyond Utopia would have but I think the editing is pretty straightforward in 20 Days of Mariupol. I mean, but that it could have went anywhere with the documentary, but this is par for the course in all the other categories. I think good to see. I recently, I think I watched the Holdovers again yesterday, and especially that scene where what's his name leaves the dinner and he goes onto the phone, gets on the phone, and he starts running down the hallway and see Paul Giamatti chasing him. How that whole sequence was edited was very, very well done. I really enjoyed that, so I could see why maybe that sequence got it an editing award. But yeah, Oppenheimer has got this thing in the bag.
But and Lewis, what was about the Ace Eddies awards?
Yeah, Oppenheimer has it in the bag. Believe it or not, when you look back at history, editing sweeps are actually rare. But this is now going to be the second straight year that we get one, because Everything Everywhere also swept in editing last year. So we're going to see that. We're seeing that again with Oppenheimer. Before that, you got to go back to Mad Max Fury Road to the last time that you saw editing sweeper. So I think obviously Oppenheimer has this locked up. Interesting that Still won. I think it only confirms to me that I think had Still gotten in, it would have been really competitive to actually win that documentary. It just ended up because remember, that thing dominated the critics' phase. And I'll talk about that later when we talk about the categories, as to the fact that I do think that what you would call it is 20 Days. I think is beatable.
Yeah.
Now, I did want to make one final note on the comedy. There is a little controversy because apparently the editor of Holdovers is the president of Ace. So some people are like, well, how much does that have to do with the win? Maybe still could have won without it, but it is something you have to keep in mind. But that being said, I don't think that really means much for the Oscar because Oppenheimer's winning this.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those ones like, just because they both won and they're both nominated, I think it could go either way, but I don't know where the correlation is with comedy in the editing Oscar. It has been mostly drum moves they've won, but anyway, moving on to the final Oscar predictions. Going to start from the bottom, work way up. Best live action short. Does anyone not have Henry Sugar winning?
I
No.
don't have Henry Sugar winning.
All right, so let's hold on. Best live action short. All right, let me write that in here. All right, go ahead.
But Dan, what do you have winning live action short?
Henry Sugar.
Lewis.
So I think Henry Sugar is the front runner, and I'm taking a little bit of a risk here, but I am predicting Red, White, and Blue to win because it has a timely subject matter I think it's gonna hit home for a lot of Academy voters, and also Wes Anderson has not been campaigning as much as I thought he would, considering that this is a real chance here to win the Oscar, and I wonder if that could hurt him. So I think I'm going to go with Red, White, and Blue pulling off what sort of the mini upset here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going Henry Sugar as well, but just because I'm pretty sure the Academy do like Wes Anderson, and I think and this would be a reason of them to give him an award that whether or not he deserves it for this one. I mean, I do think it's a good short and all that, but yeah, but I think it's kind of the safe choice. I mean, I don't get too much about shorts anyway, but it's just the safe choice.
I think it's a safe choice as well, Malcolm. I think with the cast and Wes Anderson being involved, I think it's their way to give him an Oscar, like they did Riz Ahmed the year before. And if there was something that could upset, I would go with The Offer myself. But hey, that's just
the
Offer.
The After. After. What the heck? The After. The After is what I meant to say.
But yeah, and I mean, it's one of those ones like, and going to the point of Wes Anderson not campaigning it, that may hurt him, or he may not be doing it because like he may be thinking like, well, I'm probably the only one that people are going to know in that category. So, so
I mean, it is a safe pick, and I understand why you guys are making it. I almost made the same pick as well, but Red, White, and Blue is so timely, and you know when we do these shorts, remember these are bracket busters. Every now and then, you know, there's going to be like this upset in one of these. So for me, if I'm going to predict where the upset's going to happen, I think it might be here. And I have been hearing, and this could just be vibes. I could be wrong. I have been hearing that there has been a little bit of a surge in support for Red, White, and Blue because of its timely subject matter. But I get why you guys are predicting Henry Sugar. It is the safe pick.
Yeah,
I'm just going to take the risk.
Yeah, no, fair enough. But moving on to best documentary short, Lewis, what do you have?
I'm gonna now here I am gonna play it safe. I'm going with the ABCs of book banning because it does again. It's that timely thing. I mean, I haven't heard the greatest things about this. Not that people necessarily disagree with the message; they just think that it could have been executed a little bit better. I do think that you need to keep an eye out for Last Repair Shop. I think you need to keep an eye out for the grandma, the two grandmas one. But I'm predicting the ABCs of book banning. I'm going to go with the safe pick here.
Yeah, I mean, I think The Last Repair Shop is probably the one that people will know because I think that's on Disney Plus, if I remember.
Hulu for us, Disney Plus for you, probably.
Yeah. But I'm also going for the ABCs of book banning, but just because I do think book banning is a very timely subject, and one of these days, it's actually one I'm actually going to try and track down to watch at some stage because
you have said something to me. I would have sent it to you if I could have.
Dan, what do you have for documentary short?
I think you guys are the ones that are going out on a limb here. I think I'm going with the safe. I'm going with the safe one, and that's The Last Repair Shop. Everybody I have talked to, everybody is praising The Last Repair Shop. They're saying it's beautifully done, which, it's the cinematography is incredible. You get to learn about these people's lives, how they all landed at this place in their life of repairing trombones and clarinets and violins and stuff. And the guy, and look, and it's about saving music and getting kids to kind of keep playing music instruments and stuff like that. And I think if you got a second pick, I think it would be the Barber of Little Rock. I think the other people have been telling me about the Barber of Little Rock. I've seen all the shorts. I've seen every single one of them, so I could just speak on my own opinion on what I think of these shorts. I think the ABCs of book banning is getting kind of knocked down because of the way it's filmed and stuff. It's children reading these books, and then they're on screen talking about their experience reading the books that are being banned. And that's on Paramount Plus in America. But yeah, I think the safe bet here is The Last Repair Shop. I think it's actually going to win. And I think if there was a second one, I would say the Barber of Little Rock what a great story the Barber of Little Rock has.
I mean,
my
what we mean by safe pick is the one that's number one on Gold Derby, which is ABC's of book banning, which is the number one on Gold Derby.
Really? That jumped over The Last Repair Shop?
Well, yeah. So the ABC's of book banning is 82 over 25. Last Repair Shop is 19 over 5. So
yeah.
Wow. All right. Well,
and again,
people in the industry have been talking about it, and they've been telling me that they think the best one is The Last Repair Shop, and that's going to really resonate with a lot of people. They think.
But
I mean, I agree that Last Repair Shop is going to put up a fight, and I wouldn't be like surprised if it pulled off the win. I have it at number 2, but I just saying that I will point out, and again, grain of salt. Be careful with these, but the anonymous ballots are still showing support for ABC's of book banning.
Wow.
But again, just remember, Dan, what you're saying that you're talking to people in the industry who have responded well to it, not just regular
critics,
people,
film critics, and people like that.
No, I was thinking more like people who, like people who would be in the academy.
No,
Because-
I'm not talking to those people. How am I going to talk to
No,
them?
I mean, I don't talk to them either. I mean, I know some SAG members, but I'm not aware of knowing any Academy members. But like, you the thing is that you have to remember that a lot of, first of all, the shorts are the ones that probably get to skip the most. There's a lot of people, Academy voters who abstain from these, which is probably why you sometimes get these weird upsets in shorts. But I just feel like usually what they go for is something that's very timely. And I think even though it's maybe not the best executed, the message of ABC's of book banning is so timely at the moment. I mean, yeah, and I mean, you
It
and me
is.
know this.
I
You
love
and
the
me
doc.
know that because we're seeing this be a major issue here in Florida. There,
Oh no, I love that doc.
so
No, I'm not saying that I don't like the doc. I love the doc. I've been just kind of hearing the tea leaves and reading things and stuff, and I think it's going to be The Last Repair Shop. I could be completely wrong.
Yeah. But anyway, moving on, because we don't want to spend too much on the shorts as it is. For best animated short, and now this is where I made a last minute decision to switch it up. I haven't officially switched it up on Gold Derby yet, but I haven't said it out loud on the stream, so it doesn't count. But I'm actually going to go with War is Over, inspired by the music of John and Yoko, purely because I do think that most people may vote for that because they know John Lennon's music and all that, and especially if the war happening in the world as it is, I think that's a really timely and especially if the news about the Beatles movies that Sam Mendes is doing as well is probably going to put the John Lennon back in their mind as well. So that's what I'm thinking about, and that's not the Gold Derby favorite, but yeah. But Dan, what are you going for the animated short?
I'm actually going for the exact same one as you, Malcolm. War is Over. When I watched those animated shorts, the one that really resonated with me the most, and I thought the animation was gorgeous. I love the song in it with War is Over from the song with John Lennon and stuff. And it's a Weta. Actually, that's your backyard, Malcolm. It's from Weta, the people at Weta down there in New Zealand. I just think this is incredible documentary. It's about two guys playing chess on either side of no man's land, using birds to deliver the chess moves. Just beautiful, beautiful animation, beautiful movie, beautiful. I think it's going to win.
But Lewis, what are you going for animated short?
I'm also going for War is Over. I think the Gold Derby favorite, I don't know if it's changed, but I think the Gold Derby favorite is Letter to a Pig.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And I do think that has a potential to win. I think 95 Senses has a potential to win. I've been hearing a lot of good buzz about that one. Now, interesting enough, War is Over has been getting a lot of pushback from a lot of folks I follow online. They've been complaining about it. But I think I think it's going to be timely. I think there's going to be, with what's going on in the world right now between the Gaza and Ukraine and Russia, and of course how much everybody knows about Yoko and John Lennon. I think the stars are going to align, and War is Over is going to pull this off.
But moving on.
Malcolm, could you just turn your volume down on your phone so you don't get your notifications, so we don't hear it? Because I'm going to keep putting them in the chat, in which it's going to come back with your voice. Okay, we're going to keep hearing it.
Moving on to best international film. We've probably all got the same one, but just to be sure, Dan, what do you have for best international film?
I have The Zone of Interest. I just think it's too strong amongst the other contenders. I would die. If I had to get one of these categories wrong, I would be a happy man if Perfect Days pulled this out and won this category. I would fucking just jump for joy. But it's not going to happen. It's going to be The Zone of Interest, which is an absolute masterpiece of a film, in my opinion. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It's got so many things going for it. and it's so incredible of a film. So I'm going with The Zone of Interest.
Lewis, what do you have for best international film?
Well, I'm no guts, no glory. I'm actually going to go with Zone of Interest. It's safe Zone of Interest. It's solid. It's the only one that's in Best Picture. Had France gone with Anatomy of a Fall, we maybe would have had a really interesting race here, especially after Zone pulled off that win at BAFTA over it in this category. But even though I would note this is Zone of Interest, solid film. I didn't love it as much as Dan did, but solid film is going to be deserving of this win. But I would personally vote for Perfect Days, but Zone of Interest has this locked up.
Yeah, I'm also going Zone of Interest here. I haven't seen any of these, but it's the one that's been getting the most wins, and you don't get nominated for Best Picture and lose international. I really find it hard to believe that could be a thing.
I mean, Zone was able to pull that off at BAFTA against Poor Things in British and against Anatomy in International. But I think it just goes to show you how strong Zone is becoming, because I do think it's been getting more popular. I think it's been surging. I actually think it might be top 5 in picture. So I think it's got this locked up. The thing that would be interesting to see is, do they bring the entire cast and crew that represents Zone up on this stage? Because we saw that with All Quiet last year. If they do that again, that would tell me that they might be starting a new tradition where it's not just a director who comes up for international feature.
Good one, Lewis. That's a good. I'd love to see that.
Yeah. But moving on to documentary feature, Lewis, what do you have for documentary feature?
So I'm predicting 20 Days in Mariupol, but I'm not as confident as some others might be, because it has shown some weak points. It lost the American Symphony at PGA. It lost Ace earlier to Still. Now, Still and American Symphony are not nominated. That's good news for it. And the Russia-Ukraine situation became very timely of late, because Navalny, the subject of last year's winner, died. I mean, if we're being straight up, was murdered by the Russian government, basically. And I think it's 20 Days in Mariupol can be benefit from that and getting some voters to galvanize around it. I would say keep an eye out for Bobby Wine, which feels like people have been kind of getting behind. And I would keep an eye on To Kill a Tiger. I've been hearing a lot of good things about that one. I mean, it hasn't been that available to the public, but obviously the Academy members have a screening room that they have access to. But I'm going to go with 20 Days in Mariupol, but I think this is more competitive than some people think it might be.
Yeah, I'm also going 20 Days in Mariupol. It's, once again, I haven't seen any of these. I don't have any stake in this, but 20 Days in Mariupol, I think, is still the fun one, despite losing in some of the places. It's one of those ones, like, I don't really see anything strong that could upset it, honestly. But yeah, and once again, I think it's still timely because the Russia-Ukraine stuff is still going on and that as well, and yeah. But Dan, what do you have for documentary?
Yeah, I have 20 Days in Mariupol. I think just like you guys, I think having no Michael J. Fox, no Beyond Utopia in here, I think it just shows that this is, in a way, the documentary branch is kind of showing their own hand in a lot of ways, because they get rid of the competition because for whatever reason they don't like the competition for whatever reason. And then now the one that would be in contention with the others is in here. So it's obvious what they want to see win. And so, I mean, it'd be a shock if something else won here besides 20 Days in Mariupol. So this has happened over and over and over in the last however many years, where the possible contenders It's probably going to happen with Superman. I'll put money on it right now. If you guys want to make a bet, I'll put $20 on it. Superman, which is going to be one of the most popular documentaries of the year, will not get nominated for the Academy Award next year because of these assholes.
The
Why?
only time we haven't seen this from them was Summer Soul. That ended up just being so dominant that even the documentary branch couldn't deny it. But yeah, and this has been happening. Even this goes all the way back. You can go find old Ebert, Cisco and Ebert shows
Hoop
of them
Dreams.
complaining
Hoop
about
Dreams.
this. Hoop
Hoop
Dreams.
Dreams.
There was the one with the artist. I forget the name of it. That happened, I think, the year after. They just have a thing where they seem to have a thing against documentaries that get too popular. They just seem to have something against those documentaries.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's too much about they have it against ones that are popular. And I mean, I think it's just a case of the documentary branch probably don't watch all the documentaries that are submitted as it is. And I mean, but maybe they there's especially with some stuff like of the recent years, maybe it's just the case they don't like documentaries, but that are pretty much like someone's biography, in that, like Michael J. Fox, Fred Rogers, Val, and people like that. And I mean, it's one of those ones, like, I think even if Beyond Utopia was nominated, I don't think it would have had a chance anyway. It hasn't really been winning much in some of the other places where it was nominated. So, but moving on to animated feature, starting with me, this is one of those ones I considered switching it up to try and be daring, but ultimately I just sort of played it safe here and went Spider-Verse. But it's one of those ones, like, I do think there is a world where Born in the Heron could pull this off as well, because of if the Academy really do have a lot of love for Miyazaki and all that, they want to give him an Oscar, well, at least another Oscar before he does officially retire. But Dan, what do you have for animated feature?
Yeah, I mean, if I had my druthers, I would love Robot Dreams to win, but Neon doesn't even care about that movie because they put it in June. It's going to get a nationwide United States release in June. If they cared about this movie at all, they would have put it in January or February, where people could go and see it in the theaters. And possibly, yeah, we know the Academy can go to the Academy portal and watch it. And we know all the critics got to see Robot Dreams. So we're a little bit butthurt about this. But it's Spider-Man. This Spider-Man's won so many places. If Spider-Man loses to The Boy and the Heron, I think that's a genuine upset. And I'm putting that out right now. If The Boy and the Heron wins here, it's a genuine upset. Because Spider-Man won everywhere. I mean, everywhere. We already said it won editors, it won sound. I mean, it's winning everywhere. Come on, it's Spider-Man.
But Lewis, what do you have for animated feature?
Well, I do think this is competitive, and I do think Boy and the Heron's going to be getting votes. We do have to account for the fact that Boy and the Heron has the undefeated combo of Globes and BAFTA. But Spider-Verse also has its own undefeated combo, PGA Critics' Choice, also one with HDA, and it did beat Boy and the Heron at PGA. It won A's. Boy and the Heron didn't even get nominated with A's. So I think, to me, that tells me that it's leaning towards Spider-Verse, and I'm going to predict Spider-Verse. Also, quite frankly, out of the nominated films, even though all of them have good audience scores, Spider-Verse has objectively the best audience scores of all of 2023. And it's the most populous movie. And I just think at the end of the day, it's going to be Spider-Verse. It's ended up being more competitive than we thought it was going to be. Boy and the Heron has put up a little bit more of a fight, but I do feel like Spider-Verse is pulling away as we get to the closer to the Oscars.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones. Like I do think it's still a relatively close race, just because the Boy and the Heron have won some major places as well. So I mean, it's definitely one. It's definitely between those two, and I mean, it's one of those ones. Like even if they, I think Neon maybe even saw that it was probably going to be Boy and the Heron and Spider-Verse, because even if they released Robot Dreams in January and February. I don't know how much of a priority the Academy would have had to go check it out and maybe vote on it. So they probably would have.
I mean, it's very likely Robot Dreams was number 5, because I think that was the animation branch being able to squeeze it in there. Whereas I don't know if it was necessarily the Academy wide that got that in there. Whereas the Academy wide probably were much more behind, like a Spider-Verse.
I was talking about, I was talking about in terms of voting it, deciding the winners. That's what I was getting.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like Neon probably's like we're not going to win this anyway, even if we release this in time for the voters. So, yeah. But that being said, it is a little ridiculous that they're making. And look, I'm like one of the very few people who didn't like Robot Dreams as much as everybody else did. But it's weird to me that they're waiting until freaking June to release this movie.
Yeah. But moving on to best visual effects, Dan, what do you have for visual effects?
All right, so I kind of have an idea. I'm just hoping Lewis doesn't go with. He's just, it's my favorite movie, I'm going to go with this one. I'm hoping he's using his head. I'm hoping he's using his noggin, and he's going to pick the one that's actually going to win visual.
There is nothing wrong with going down with the ship every now and then.
Yeah, I know. I'm just playing. I'm picking on you, Lewis. I love you, man. I love you. You know I'm picking on you, Lewis. Come on now. So I am going to go with, okay, what are the nominees again?
Creator got Godzilla Minus One, Napoleon, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning.
The Creator. I've always liked the visual effects in the Creator. I love all the computer effects on the people's heads and stuff, and I love the big giant satellite thing and the thing that goes over and kind of scans the planet. And I love the mix of like a Vietnam kind of look to the movie and the computer kind of sci-fi stuff with it. I absolutely think the visual effects are incredible in it. I know Malcolm's going to disagree with me because he doesn't think it's that good looking, but I'm going to go with the Creator. I just feel like the Creator is the best.
Lewis, what do you have for visual effects?
Well, okay, so let me just preface this with that. Godzilla Minus One is my favorite movie of 2023. It is a movie that belongs to my all-time favorite movie franchise. Godzilla movies are why I'm into movies.
Wow.
If this won Best Picture, maybe at the Japanese Academy could win Best Picture.
Wow.
And if it won visual effects, I would be beyond happy. It would be my favorite win of the night. And I do believe, and I know it's got stats going up against it, I do believe it is competitive. Because word is that Academy voters are actually watching the VFX reel, because there's not like this clear favorite like there has been in past years. So if they watch the VFX reel, I think they're coming away impressed by what Godzilla did with the budget that it did. And according to the anonymous ballots, and again, grain of salt, small sample, but it's a really close race between Creator and Godzilla. So Godzilla is putting up a fight, and the Godzilla VFX supervisor happens to be the director, who has been all over LA doing artisan screenings, meeting up with freaking Steven Spielberg. Like he's been campaigning and stuff. But I'm predicting the Creator, because it did do so well with Visual Effects Society that I can't deny not to mention that it got nominated elsewhere, making sound, that I can't deny that it seems to be what statistically is the most likely winner. And it'll be a worthy winner. I would personally vote for -1 if I were a voter, but if -1 wasn't nominated, I would vote for creator. I'm with you, Dan. I think it's got great visual effects. I do think Godzilla absolutely can pull this off, but I'm not predicting based on what I would vote for. I'm predicting on what I think is going to win. And as much as I would love to be wrong and see Godzilla pull this off, I am predicting creator to pull this off. But again, I'm not that confident about it because remember, creator did lose at BAFTA, which makes you wonder what's up with that. But I am going with creator, but it is not, this is one of those that it's not going to be, we're not really going to be that sure until they open that envelope.
Yeah. And it's one of those ones, I'm always curious how Gold Derby comes up with their numbers because Godzilla -1 is actually the Gold Derby favorite.
Yeah. I do think that that's a little bit of, quite frankly, bias because it is the movie that had the best audience scores, the best critical reception. So I do wonder if there's, and of course it's the one with the big name, it's a big Godzilla. Everybody knows Godzilla, but I do think that there's some bias in there because if you look at the stats, statistically, creator you would think is the favorite.
Yeah, I mean, no, this is one of those ones like I almost went Godzilla -1 personally because they may just for the reason they might do it as like a career achievement, so to speak, for visual effects because it is the first time a Godzilla movie's been nominated. And I'm not that high on the creative visuals, but it's just one of those ones like I thought I'd take the safe pick and just go the creator anyway because it does have like has won a lot and yeah, but it's just one of those ones like I don't think it's as clear cut.
No. Like the people predicting Godzilla, I don't think they're crazy. Like there is a world it wins.
Yeah, exactly. But moving on to best sound, Lewis, what do you have for best sound?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that wild if we see Zone of Interest pull off an upset here. It did win at BAFTA, but I do think it's going to end up going to Oppenheimer. We saw some strength for Oppenheimer today when it won with the Sound Mixing Guild. Oppenheimer has won best sound everywhere outside of BAFTA, basically. So I'm going with Oppenheimer.
I'm also going with Oppenheimer here, just because it's I think it's the strong favorite here, but I think Zone of Interest, it's not that out of the realm of possibility that can win either. But yeah. But Dan, what are you going for best sound?
Yeah, I would. That would be a crazy upset if the Zone of Interest ended up upsetting here. But I have to go. I'm going for the 10. I'm going for Oppenheimer to win 10 awards. And if I'm going to get 10, I gotta get sound. I gotta get sound. Yeah, I'm going for the 10. I'm going for 10.
Okay, so apparently you're gonna be okay. Well, I'm interested to see where you find these like 3 others.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 10. I think Oppenheimer has got great sound. There's a lot of different things in there that really help with the sound. I think it's mostly involved with the in Trinity test and stuff like that. And but there's great sound in Oppenheimer. And I think it's just going to follow along with the rest of the train, the Oppenheimer train that's going down the tracks here. So I think it needs sound if it's going to get to 10.
Now, I would vote for Oppenheimer and sound if I were an Academy voter. But that being said, if Zone did pull off the upset, I do think it would be a worthy winner because there's great sound work in Zone.
Oh, yeah, there is. That's why I said that earlier.
But moving on to the next category, which is best song, and I'm going to predict that Barbie's going to win best song. And the song I'm predicting win is "What Was I Made For" by Billie Eilish, just because this has been winning, has won a few places, and this seems to be the song that that a lot of people in the industry seem to be liking a lot. While no hate to I'm Just Ken, because I do like that song as well. It just seems to be the industry is leaning towards the Was I Made For song, because it does happen in a very poignant moment of the movie as well, and it's and I think if just with the speech that Billie Eilish gave early in the, I think it was the Globes, where she was sort of talking about how personal the song was to her and how grateful she was to be asked for it to be to write it for Barbie, and that so I think that may have a bit of weight to it, whether or not that I'm saying that the Academy is always watching the previous speeches of people as well, but yeah. Dan, what are you going for best song?
I'll tell you, I'm glad, we're up the song, because the breaking news this week was Ryan Gosling is going to perform the song for the Academy Awards. I think that's big news. I think, and that news, I might add, came out while the voting was still going on. Is that a coincidence? I think not. They wanted people to know that he was going to sing that song at the Academy Awards so they could try to drum up support for that song to win. I think that's why the news came out. Now, that being said, I've been on that train all year long. The I'm Just Ken train, but other than the Peaches train. Once I got off the Peaches train, I got on the I'm Just Ken train, and I've been on that train up until now. I just think what you guys are saying, I think it's just too strong. I think this song seems to be too strong. I thought maybe because Lady Gaga didn't win last year and she didn't win her second, maybe they'll say, well, Billie Eilish and Phineas already got one. Let somebody else win. Maybe they'll give it to somebody else. But some of the people that I wanted to see win didn't even get nominated. So with this being said, Diane Warren is in there. I mean, it would be a shocker. I mean, a shocker in a good way, not a bad way, but a shocker in a good way if Diane Warren pulled off the win here. I think she's got her support with the nominees. She always gets her songs nominated. So obviously the song branch keeps nominating her. But when the entire Academy's got to vote on this thing, I don't think it's enough for Diane Warren to pull it out here. I think Billie Eilish and Phineas are going to win their second Oscar in 3 years? And they love giving 2 Oscars out, the Academy. You go back over the last 10, 15, 20. There's a lot of seconds and thirds. So I'm actually going to jump on the bandwagon with you guys. I'm going to go, what was I made for?
Lewis, what are you going for best song?
Well, she's only 22, and she already won an Oscar 2 years ago, but I think Billie Eilish is about to get her second in just 3 years. It is strong. Clearly, the industry, both the song and Academy, love her. I saw somebody make a quote that I think kind of nails it, that the Academy sees Billie Eilish in the way that the Swifties see Taylor Swift. They just love Billie Eilish. They love her. And I think I would not be surprised if a couple years down the line, we're talking about Billie Eilish maybe even becoming like a dominant Best Original Song winner. I mean, I would not be surprised if she's going to show up more in the future. I am predicting. I will say this, while I think I'm Just Ken is within striking distance of an upset, keep an eye out for the Killers of the Flower Moon song. That one seems to be picking up a little bit of steam, and I've been seeing it get some votes in the anonymous ballots. But yeah, what was I made for? It's leaning that way.
Yeah. I mean, it's the Killers of the Flower Moon song. We don't. I don't think we don't really know how strong that is, because I think the Oscars was the only place they nominated it. So we don't.
Yeah.
So it hasn't really been nominated anywhere else. So it's kind of the dark horse in amongst these other known ones. And it's one of those ones it's very rare that a comedy / satirical song like I'm Just Ken it's pretty weird that those kind of songs pull out the wins when they get nominated. Because I think a few years ago was the Eurovision song, which Husavik was something that got nominated, which didn't end up winning. But moving on to best score, Dan, what do you have for score?
I have Ludwig Göransson for Oppenheimer. This guy, you want to talk about Billie Eilish? This guy's already won an Oscar. He's a young guy. He's going to win his second Oscar. I mean, it's just like you got two music people, Phineas and Billie Eilish, and now Ludwig Göransson, both very young. Both are about to win their second Oscar. It's pretty crazy, if you ask me.
But Lewis, what do you have for best score?
Yeah, I can hear the music. Oppenheimer is going to win here. It's been dominating the entire season. It is easily the lock to win score.
Yeah, I'm also going Oppenheimer. It's at this point, it would be crazy to try and go for anything else. And it's one of those ones I don't think there's anything relatively close to it. I think the only thing that could maybe win is maybe Poor Things causes a bit of upset, or even because we know how much the Academy does love Dial of Destiny, they could cause the upset too. But well, look,
if that happened, I will go on change.org and start a petition for John Williams to return that Oscar.
John, you're not going to run down your street naked? You're not going to run down your street naked, Lewis?
Well, I would, because that's not happening. I would be stunned. I could see American Fiction winning score before I see Dial of Destiny winning.
Well, no, it's one of those ones like, not, as I said, I'm not predicting it to happen. It's kind of possibilities I could see causing an upset, but it's easily Oppenheimer. There's no doubt about it at this point. It's been winning everywhere. But moving on to production design, Lewis, what do you have winning production design?
Yeah, this is one of those that you could argue that there's a debate about. I think you can make a strong argument for Barbie. I think there's an outside shot that Oppenheimer overperforms and pulls this off. I'm predicting Poor Things. I can't ignore the fact that Poor Things won at the guilds here. It won with both set decorators and art directors. It won BAFTA. I do believe, and I might change my mind when we get the final results and I can kind of look at how each movie did. I do personally believe that Poor Things is probably number 2 in picture. So I am going to predict that Poor Things pulls off what I do think is a competitive race for production design.
Yeah, this is one of those ones that in my head I wanted to go Barbie, but it's like I think it's Poor Things at the moment does have the momentum. Like it got like best there was the best picture one without nominations at the art. I think it was the Art Decorators Guild. It was either art or set decorators.
It beat Barbie directly in art directors.
Yeah, but I think in one of them it also got the award for best picture, which is jury system, not a nomination base. I know either the Art Decorators or the set. Anyway, regardless, I'm going Poor Things over Barbie. Just because it has been winning a lot in a lot of places. But
yeah,
Dan, what do you have for production design?
I have a feeling he's gonna take a risk here.
Actually, I'm not going to take a risk. I'm going to go with Poor Things here because
how the heck are you going to get Oppenheimer to 10? Now I'm wondering.
You'll have to find out. Look, I think there's so many of the tea leaves and there's so much of the stuff you could, like you guys are pointing out different set decorators and all that, these types of guilds and stuff. And Poor Things have beaten Barbie. It's Asteroid City is like it's a non-thing, so it's for whatever reason they think this is good. I don't know why they think this whole it's all on a freaking sound stage anyway. The whole thing is, and it's like visual effects backdrops and stuff like that. It's like so fake. It looks so fake to me, but for whatever reason, they are going for it. I don't know why they're going for this.
Because it's the
But
best
they
production design of the year, Dan.
Asteroid City I like better.
But it's not nominated.
I actually like Killers of the Flower Moon better than this. But I understand everybody's been going for Poor Things. I'm going to jump on the bandwagon. I'm not going to go against the grain here. So I'm going to go with Poor Things.
I do think Barbie can win here, though. Like, I don't want to like completely act like it's impossible.
That looks even faker than this does. Barbie looks even more fake than Poor Things looks fake. They both look fake.
I didn't even like Barbie, but the production design in Barbie is some of the best of the year, Dan.
But it looks fake because they're recreating Barbie land and Barbie place. It just looks fake.
It didn't look fake to me.
It looks fake to me.
What I'm about to say is like it's one of those ones like, well, yes, it may look fake because it's a set and all that, but it's one of those ones in terms of the movie. That is exactly how I'd expect Barbie Land to look like.
No, I understand it. I know that. You're right, Malcolm. It looks what you would expect Barbie Land to look like. Okay. I do not take anything away from that. But I want something to have production design that looks real, but isn't real. And it looks real. And it looks like, wow, this is crazy. You know what I mean? Like Wonka. The Wonka production design in Wonka looked incredible to me. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. You know what I mean? Killers of the Flower Moon, they had to do all kinds of stuff with that street, the main street, to make it look like a 1920s street and stuff like that. Stuff like that. I'm just using this as an example, right? But if you remember The Last Duel, right? The Last Duel, they put in animals, they put in all this like props and all kinds of stuff in The Last Duel to make it look like the 1700s. It looked like you're like back in the freaking medieval times in The Last Duel. You know what I mean? These movies just look fake. They don't look real. The Last Duel, it was completely like fake, yet it looked real.
So if you were an Academy voter, what would you vote for? Killers of the Flower Moon?
Yeah, I think it's the most realistic looking production design. I want production design that takes something that's fake, we know is fake, and it's not real. A lot of green screen in production in Killers of the Flower Moon, but the backdrops, the sunsets, the land, a lot of that stuff looks incredible, authentic to me. And I'm not the biggest defender of Killers of the Flower Moon, but that's one of the things to me that really looked good about that movie.
I mean, if I were to vote a voter, I would have voted for Poor Things.
Okay, that's fine.
But
I'm voting for Poor Things. It's right here. I'm voting for Poor Things.
No, you're predicting Poor Things. I'm just saying that if I'm predicting it, and I would have voted for it if I were an Academy voter.
Okay, that's fine. And I love Poor Things. Don't get me wrong. I love it. It's my third favorite.
I know.
Just quickly to bounce off those
oh boy.
Honest. No. Because personally, I thought Killers of the Flower Moon set did not look that realistic to me. I thought it did look fake. But it's also one of those ones like,
well, you not to interrupt you. Give me 2 seconds, Malcolm. 2 seconds. They recreated the courtroom on a set in Oppenheimer. Tell me that looked like a fake courtroom to you in Oppenheimer. And then they did the entire Los Alamos thing. They recreated all of that in Oppenheimer. Did that all look like fake? Did that all look fake to you, Malcolm?
Well, I mean, I wasn't talking about Oppenheimer.
All right, I'm just checking.
I would say this one's going to tell us a lot, though, because if Poor Things wins like we all seem to expect it will, that could bode well for Emma, and we'll talk about that later. If Barbie wins, that could be interesting and tell us that Barbie's a little more popular than it was with BAFTA. And then, of course, I do think there is an outside shot that Oppenheimer pulls this one off. And if that happens, then we're probably looking at a potential for a crazy Return of the King type of result.
Yeah. The last thing I was going to get into was like with the thing of Oppenheimer and Killers of the Flower Moon, they are recreating places that you could go to and visit and be able to sort of, or at least see pictures of and be able to somewhat make it. Barbie Land is a place that doesn't exist, and we don't know what it would look like if it existed in real life. So I mean, it's one of those ones like when it comes to fantasy movies that take place in a world where where we can't visit, where we've never been to before, and to recreate something like that from scratch, I think is an achievement on its own. I think it doesn't matter if your fictional place doesn't look that realistic, because it looks like a fantastical world that you want to visit. And
Malcolm,
that's what Barbie did. And that's what Barbie did for me. So
Malcolm, there's Barbie cartoons, the packaging on the toys that show things that they could use.
and they redesigned
nailed it.
some of those.
They nailed it.
Yeah. But I mean, even though there's packaging on toys that show like a Barbie dream house, a Barbie car, and all that, it doesn't show the full scope of what a whole Barbie world would look like, if that makes any sense. But anyway, moving on, before we go down the rabbit hole, that's even more, to makeup and hairstyling. I think, Lewis, what do you have for makeup and hairstyling?
Well, this one's a little bit tough because on one hand, Poor Things won at BAFTA. Also, Poor Things is actually winning the anonymous ballots in this category a little bit easier than I thought it would. And obviously, again, I have all the caveats with these anonymous ballots, but Maestro did do really well at the Makeup Guild. Really well. This probably might be my most controversial choice because I think a lot of people are just going to go with Maestro. I am predicting Poor Things to actually pull it off here. I'm predicting that Poor Things will actually beat out Maestro. I say this as someone who's part of Maestro Hive, but I think Maestro's very divisive view, and with the entire Academy voting instead of just the makeup branch, and with how popular Poor Things is, I think Poor Things is poised to do very well with the crafts. Spoiler alert, I think it's going to have the second most Oscars. So I am going to go out on a little bit of a limb here and predict that Poor Things pulls off makeup and hair.
I mean, I wouldn't say going for Poor Things is going out on a limb, because I do think Poor Things is going to win makeup and hairstyling. And it's not because of my opinions of Maestro in the movie itself. But I think the makeup on all the makeup and hairstyling on all those characters that you see in the movie, like Willem Dafoe, Mark Ruffalo, and all the other characters you see in that movie, I think it's all well done, and it's just really good across the board. Like, I've only really heard people praising the makeup, like thinking Maestro will win because they supposedly made Bradley Cooper look different, but he just looks like Bradley Cooper with a big nose. But Dan, what are you going for makeup and hairstyling?
Well, Malcolm, you're not going to like this, but I think there's more to Maestro than just a big nose from Bradley Cooper. First of all, you see him age from the time he was a young man all the way to the time from he's an older guy. You see his wife age from what time she's a young person till the time she's an older person. And all their friends and then in their family members, you see all this aging. And this guy, number one, this guy's won for Vice, the guy that did the makeup on Maestro. He's won already for Vice, and he's also won for the one with Charlize Theron and them, the Fox
Bombshell.
News talks.
Bombshell.
This guy is a very prolific makeup guy, and I feel that only the real makeup in Poor Things is Willem Dafoe, and I think the makeup in Maestro looks 100 times better than the makeup in. Yes, the hairstyling is good in Poor Things, but if I had a second, I actually go with Oppenheimer in hair and makeup because I think there's a lot of hair and makeup de-aging in Oppenheimer, from young people to old people, and it really keeps. Plus, Robert Downey Jr., you see him, his makeup and his prosthetics on him in various scenes in that movie. You know what? No, I'm going to stick with Maestro. But if I had a second, God, I would definitely go for Oppenheimer over Poor Things. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go for Maestro in the upset here.
I'm still trying to figure out where you're going to get these 10 for Oppenheimer.
But anyway,
I could be joking with you, Lewis. How do you know?
Well,
I could
I'm
be
trying to
pulling
wonder.
your leg. I could be pulling your
I'm
leg.
keeping a note of all the things Dan has said Oppenheimer for to
Look,
win.
I got it right here, Malcolm. It's not like I'm lying. It's right here.
Well, I'm not saying
Yeah, I
you're
could be
lying.
pulling your leg, Lewis. You don't know.
I'm just saying I'm keeping a track of all the things you say Oppenheimer to, seeing if we.
I almost had it, guys. I came this close to doing Oppenheimer in makeup.
Anyway, talking about something we're probably all going to go Oppenheimer for anyway. Best film editing. I've got Oppenheimer. Like, it won at the Ace Eddies. But I do think just because the Holdovers also winning at Ace Eddies, probably puts it at number 2 and might give it a little bit of competition. But I think Oppenheimer is a edited great and all that. So I'm going Oppenheimer. Dan, what are you going for film editing?
I'm going with Oppenheimer. If you don't think the editing is incredible in Oppenheimer, the only editing that I think is halfway decent, and I don't know if they have it as a category or if it was eligible or what, is Anatomy of a Fall. I was shocked that didn't pop up in the Ace Eddies anywhere. I don't know if it was what the deal was with that, but yeah, I think Malcolm, you're right. Oppenheimer's got the best editing. It's going to win editing. And that's my thing. I'd be shocked if Lewis went anywhere else.
Lewis, what do you have for editing?
No, I'm not a fool. This is a lock. Oppenheimer, safe. Oppenheimer's it's been sweeping. It deserves to win. Oppenheimer, and it's going to be nice to see a female editor get a victory.
Oh, that's right.
I hope it'd be cool if she shouts out Thelma when she goes up on that stage.
And the other thing is too, there's a journey from this woman. If you listen to a lot of the Oppenheimer like press stuff and interviews with Christopher Nolan and stuff, this woman, her first thing, she worked with him on Tenet, and she's come a long way since Tenet from what he has said. Christopher Nolan has talked about this woman and talked how she's really come a long way just from Tenet to Oppenheimer.
But moving on to best costume design, Dan, what do you have for costume design?
All right, best costumes. I got Oppenheimer. No, I don't got Oppenheimer.
I was about to say,
I don't got Oppenheimer. Don't put me down for Oppenheimer for costumes, Malcolm. No,
this is literally the only category I don't have Oppenheimer in the top 3.
I actually have Poor Things in this one because I've been singing the praises of Poor Things costumes since the beginning. I think the costumes are incredible. I love the fact they were to take something you didn't even know. You read a book and you have to design costumes based off of that book, and you come up with these incredible costumes. And then once again, this is another lady. She's won a couple times before, so they like this woman. And I can't think of what the lady's name is right now, but she's won a couple times before. Wait. Is this the woman that won a couple times, or is this the first time?
I think this is the first time one. The Barbie one is the one. Yeah.
Barbie's got the woman who's won a couple times. And I think in this case, they do want to go with the first time winner. I think to show how great of a job she did. And I think going off of what Lewis said, I think this is the second. I think this Poor Things is going to be the movie that gets the second most Oscars. And so I feel like it's going to win costumes.
Lewis, what do you have winning costumes?
Well, this is just like production design where it's Poor Things versus Barbie. I would not be surprised at all if Barbie pulls this off. In fact, I think statistically Barbie has a better shot to win this than it does production design. And of course, that would be a potential sign when you start looking at those tea leaves of if Emma's going to win, you want to see if Poor Things is going to be able to beat out Barbie here. But again, I do think Poor Things is number 2 in picture. I do think it's going to end up with the second most Oscars, and I do think it's going to end up basically sweeping the 3 craft categories. So I am predicting it to win costumes, just like I am predicting it to win makeup and production design. It's not. I'm not particularly that confident about it because I do think Barbie's competitive here, but I'm going with Poor Things.
Yeah, I'm also going Poor Things here. It's one of those ones that that it's between Poor Things and Barbie, and that's pretty obvious. But it's also one of those ones like I actually do have Oppenheimer in the top 3 because I do think there is a slight shot that Oppenheimer could pull this off too. But ultimately, I think the tea leaves is kind of going Poor Things' way, and yeah, so Poor Things is going to be my vote here. Moving on to best cinematography, Lewis, what do you have for cinematography?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens tonight with ASC. But I do think it's likely going to be Oppenheimer. I know Poor Things won with the British cinematographers, but Oppenheimer won at BAFTA anyway. So I am. I don't think it's much of a lock necessarily as editing and score are, but I'm going with Oppenheimer. I think it's very likely the winner here.
Yeah, I'm going Oppenheimer for cinematography as well, just because it's been winning a lot of places for cinematography as it is, and yeah, so I think I don't really think anyone is pretty close to it either. I think it's going to be a pretty much of a groundswell for Oppenheimer here. But Dan, what do you have for cinematography?
Yeah, I think it's a career Oscar for Hoyt van Hoytema. He's just going along with that train with Oppenheimer, and I think it's his turn in his career. I think next year you might be looking at Greg Fraser winning his second, from what I'm looking at from Dune 2. I think maybe Greg Fraser probably could be going for his third next year, but they screwed him over on the Batman. But that's another whole back. But I'm going for Hoyt van Hoytema. I think the cinematography, the black and white cinematography, the color cinematography, everything in that movie looks amazing.
Moving on to best original screenplay, and this is kind of where I decided to go for a little of a ballsy pick here. While I do think that there's a movie that's nominated as probably a really good chance of winning. I'm still holding out hope that The Holdovers could pull this off, because I do think The Holdovers is a really great screenplay, and I think and that's what I'm predicting to win here. And yeah, I just think out of the ones that are nominated, this is probably the best original screenplay that I've seen. So yeah, but Dan, what do you have for original screenplay?
Let Lewis go here first.
Okay, so wait, I missed that. What did Malcolm go with?
I went with The Holdovers.
Oh, okay, hold on. I actually do think there's an outside shot for Holdovers to pull off an upset here. It's actually ended up being, and again, grain of salt, small samples, but on the anonymous ballot, it's actually been a little bit more competitive than I thought it was going to be. The thing about the screenplays that's going to make it a little bit difficult is the whole situation with Barbie, because you do wonder with Barbie getting out of original, what happens to the would-be Barbie voters? And of course, when we get to adapt to screenplay, the question is going to be, how does Barbie getting in there affect that race? So it does make me wonder if some of those Barbie voters then decide to go, what happens if they're holdover voters? And what happens if original screenplay has ended up being a pretty close race, and maybe that helps it overcome Anatomy of a Fall? That being said, Anatomy of a Fall did win at the Globes. It won with BAFTA. I'm going to go with Anatomy because it does seem to the screenplay does seem to be where it's getting a lot of love. But you got to wonder with what effect Barbie not being here is going to have, because I have no idea what way those Barbie voters are going to vote now.
But Dan, what do you have for original screenplay?
Yeah, actually, I agree exactly all the same points that Lewis made. I think Holdovers is close. I think May December could be close. I think Anatomy of a Fall, though, with Justine Triet winning places, the screenplay winning other places, Independent Spirit Awards, BAFTA, other places like that, I think Anatomy of a Fall is going to win. I think this is the way to reward a woman director by giving her a screenplay. And I think they could give it to Celine Song, but I think the more populous, the movie that's really done more of a kind of been more of a critic's darling, a movie that's, well, they both have been a critic's darling. It's hard to kind of say, but I just feel like
Anatomy is closer to number one in picture than Past Lives.
Yeah. That's basically what it is. I think it's got a better shot at winning picture than Past Lives, and so I'm going with Anatomy of a Fall here as well. I love that. Being said, I do love The Holdovers. I think it's a very inspired pick on your part, Malcolm. If it wins, kudos to you.
But moving on to adapted screenplay, Dan, what do you have?
I have the upset here. I have an upset here. I love American Fiction. All right, guys. I would love to see American Fiction win this thing, but I just feel like there's a train going down the tracks and it's going 100 miles an hour, and it's the Oppenheimer train. And I think that Oppenheimer, if you listen to a lot of the interviews with, and I know I'm only listening to interviews with, I've been doing a lot of YouTube, going down the rabbit hole on YouTube with interviews with Holdovers people, Oppenheimer people, all kinds of people been going down that rabbit hole, trying to get information, just suck in that information. If you see that book, what Nolan had to deal with that book, and how dense of a book that was, and for him to turn out such a incredible screenplay with so many actors playing a part in the screenplay, with so many roles in 3 different settings and stuff, and they all have different emotions and different various like things that they have going on with their characters, motivations and stuff. And I freaking love American Fiction. I think that screenplay is incredible. I would not be disappointed at all if Cord Jefferson pulled it out here, but I'm going with Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan.
Lewis, what do you have for adapted screenplay?
I think like Holdovers in the other one, I do think Oppenheimer has an outside shot of pulling off what would be weirdly an upset. It's weird to say that the best picture front runner that's been a juggernaut would pull off an upset in a category, but it would be an upset looking at the stats. Because again, what happens now when Barbie now is in the picture? Would some American Fiction voters suddenly vote for Barbie because it's available now, and that helps Oppenheimer a little bit? I do think I think there's also outside shot that Barbie pulls off an upset here.
Sympathy card for Greta Gerwig.
Sympathy card. Again, the thing is that we've never seen Barbie go up against these movies. We've only seen it go up against the original screenplay contenders. But again, I do think there is a possibility Oppenheimer wins. I mean, there isn't that crazy a world. I know I was clowning Dan about it a little bit, but there isn't that crazy a world where Oppenheimer pulls off an upsetting production design, pulls off screenplay, and before you know it, we're talking about 10 Oscars for it. But I am going with American Fiction because it does have the stats in its favor. It does have the momentum. It has beaten Oppenheimer with places where Oppenheimer has dominated, even here, they've gone with American Fiction. And don't forget the TIFF Audience Award stat. With the exception of Fablemans, traditionally the TIFF Audience Award winner gets at least one Oscar. And it usually is in screenplay when that happens. So I am going to go with American Fiction, even though I don't think Dan's prediction's that wild. I do think there is a world Oppenheimer pulls this off.
Yeah, I mean, I also went American Fiction here, purely because the script awards went for, and everywhere that American Fiction and Oppenheimer's been up against each other, it's always come out on American Fiction winning, and yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones we don't know what Barbie's going to do here, because. And I wouldn't, if Barbie wins here, I wouldn't really say it's a sympathy gap, because I do think the script for Barbie is actually better than Oppenheimer in a way. I actually prefer that script over Oppenheimer. But it's one of those ones I'm not ballsy enough to predict a Barbie upset, just because I don't know how that's going to go, and whether people may not vote for it because they don't think it's an adapted screenplay, or they will vote for it because they think it, because they like it a lot. So it's tough to say, but officially I'm a bit going American Fiction. Moving on to supporting actor.
Really? I have half of this thing written already for Best Supporting Actress. Damn it. Can we just do Best Supporting Actress since I'm already doing it?
Fine, we can say Best Supporting Actress, but Lewis, what do you have for Supporting Actress?
I mean, the question is not who we have. Is do any of us have the balls to predict someone else? This is Divine Joy Randolph's for the taking. She's the biggest acting sweeper of the entire season. I mean, even RDJ, when we talk about that category, has had more slip ups than she has. This is Divine Joy Randolph all the way.
Yeah, I'm also going Divine Joy Randolph. There's really nothing as to. I don't think there's anyone really close to it. I think, once again, I think if the Academy wants Oppenheimer to win a lot of awards, then maybe Emily Blunt pulls the upset here. But I don't think she's that strong against Divine Joy Randolph. But
if Emily Blunt won here, oh my God, I might scream or something, and I'm going to be and this year I'm going to be at a public setting watching the Oscars.
But Dan, what do you have for Supporting Actress?
I actually have Divine Joy Randolph as well. I mean, this is the most obvious. If I had a letterbox, I mean, not a letterbox, a gold derby. Maybe Lewis or somebody could help me get my gold derby back. I can't for the life of me get my gold derby back. I would put 500 points on Divine Joy Randolph. I don't know if Lewis is going to put 500 points on Divine Joy Randolph.
No, I put 500 on the top two categories.
Okay, so I would put at least 100 on Divine Joy Randolph then, because I think she's got this thing in the bag all day, every day twice on Sunday.
No, the only reason I was laughing is the way you started saying it's I actually have. I thought, are you about to say you actually have Emily Blunt?
So 10 was a lie, because the only way he would have gotten to 10 was to predict Emily Blunt.
Nah, I only have 9. I wasn't lying. I was joking. I was just pulling your leg.
Well, I mean, when at the time when he said 10, he may have changed his mind on some of them too. But
he flinched.
But anyway, moving on to supporting actor, and I'm going to start off here. And yeah, I've got Robert Downey Jr. I don't really think there's a world where he loses. And once again, looking at everyone else, I don't really think there's a definitive one that could possibly upset him. Like maybe Ryan Gosling forms the upset, but I don't think that's a possibility. Like, he has not been that much dominant in the races at all. So yeah, but Dan, who do you have for supporting actor?
I have RDJ, Robert Downey Jr. This is a career Oscar for him. It's not like he didn't do a good job either, and I think he's fantastic as a CAD, a bad guy in the movie. And I saw this in him. I'll be honest with you. I saw him playing a bad guy down the road in his career. He played Tony Stark and Iron Man for so long, but you can just see him being able to play a villain one of these days, because he just had that kind of that's something in him to be able to play a bad guy. And he really played a great bad guy in this movie. He was a great foil to Robert J. Oppenheimer, and he got his due in the end, which is good. You know, you love seeing the bad guys lose in the end, even though the good guy lost too, in a way.
But Lewis, what do you have for supporting actor?
Well, I got Tony Stark. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. I mean, clearly this is a big career win for him, but he does deserve it. If I were an Academy voter, he would be my vote. He is my personal winner of the year for this category. And I think, honestly, he probably won this as soon as Oppenheimer dropped, because we all knew he was going to charm the pants off of those voters. We all knew he had the narrative. He was always going to be this movie's best chance at an acting win. Even though we're going to talk about another acting win that this movie looks like it's going to get. So yes, RDJ, he can start preparing his Oscar speech.
But moving on to best lead actor, Dan, who do you have for best actor?
I got Cillian Murphy. I mean, that SAG BAFTA, like Lewis likes to come up with these stats, throw this stat out at you, throw that SAG BAFTA combination. Cillian Murphy got it. He's done. Put it in the bag. He's done. He's going to win an Oscar. Cillian Murphy. That's why last week I did a little bit of a Cillian Murphy binge, and I did a bunch of his older movies, and he's really come a long way. I'll tell you what a great actor he is.
But Lewis, who do you have for best actor?
Well, like I said in our previous show, I think there's a very, 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 very small chance of a Paul Giamatti upset, because I do think Paul has been competitive, and reading these anonymous ballots, you can tell he's got support. He's getting votes. But I do think that his best shot at winning the Oscar would be to get Danny Ocean and his crew to come in and mess with the Waterhouse firm vote tabulations. So unless that happens, I do think Cillian Murphy has this. Now, has someone won SAG and BAFTA and still lost? Yeah. When Russell Crowe assaulted a BAFTA producer during the night of the BAFTAs by throwing a phone at him, and that ended up hurting his Oscar campaign, which led to Denzel Washington winning, even while Russell Crowe was part of the Best Picture winner. That's the last time that's happened. So that goes to show you what Paul Giamatti is up against, because I'm not aware of Cillian Murphy throwing the phone at any BAFTA producer. So I mean, Cillian, this is gonna be the first time in 11 years that the Best Picture winner's lead actor wins. It's a worthy win. Now, I do want to quickly say there are some corners of the award season fanatics, particularly Reddit. They have thought that there was this conspiracy theory that the pundits and the predictors, whether they be professional or hobbyists like us, have it in for Cillian Murphy because some of us were underestimating him. We had no vendetta against Cillian Murphy. Yes, I will admit Bradley Cooper would be my vote. But you know who'd be my number 2 choice? Cillian Murphy. Because he absolutely deserves this. He had one of the best performances maybe of the when it's all said and done of the 2020s. This was a great performance. I'm going to be very happy for him. There was no vendetta with people underestimating him. Historically, transformative roles win this award unless they sweep the industry. Killian has swept the industry. He's shown me what he needed to show me. He's going to win. He deserves it. And I'm going to be very happy to see him win.
But yeah, I have no vendetta against Cillian Murphy, but I think Paul Giamatti was the better performance of the year. And I'm doing the ballsy pick of going Paul Giamatti over Cillian Murphy partially because once again, the Oscars do like doing career awards sometimes, and I think this could be a case of one because he hasn't had a lead acting award before. So I mean, and it's one of those ones like nothing against Cillian Murphy's performance. I think he's great. I think this could go either way, but I think Cillian Murphy still has a long way to go, and he could get more nominations down the line. Well, I overestimated how old Paul Giamatti was last week. I think he's very selective about what he does as well. So I think Paul Giamatti maybe a while before he gets another nomination. So I think they may want to award Giamatti for a lead acting award. That's kind of why I'm going that way. And it's one of those ones like, I don't care if I'm wrong. I don't care about the points I get. I'm going I do these predictions based on my heart most of the time, and not so much based.
Well, let me ask you, Malcolm, because so you're saying that he's going to pull it off even though he lost SAG and BAFTA. Is you're thinking that he maybe lost SAG and BAFTA in an extremely close race, and thus?
Yes, I do think that I do think it has to have been a close race. I'm pretty sure, it can't, because I think because they both did win the Golden Globe. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's impossible to think that it wasn't a close race for them and SAG and BAFTA. I don't think it's that they're that far apart realistically.
And Paul did win with Critics' Choice.
Is there
I mean,
potential
for a tie?
Yes, it's possible, but it has to be an exact. It in these super old days, you just had to be like within 3 votes of each other. But these days, it has to be an exact tie.
But yeah, so I mean, I don't think so that's why I don't think it's that impossible. But yeah,
I mean, there is also the question that with SAG, we have to remember it's SAG AFTRA, and there's more crossover with SAG than there is after. There is a possibility that was the after voters that got Cillian across the finish line.
Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, because the SAG voters that I talked to, I thought Cillian was not going to win. I thought Paul was going to win based on the SAG voters I was talking to. So I mean, I think that's a super ballsy pick, Malcolm. But I will say that I can foresee a Giamatti upset before I can see like RDJ losing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, and it's one of those ones like out of the other nominations, I don't see Cooper, Wright, or Domingo pulling off that upset. Like Giamatti is legitimately the only one I could see maybe doing that.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll tell you what, Malcolm. If you end up right, I'll definitely make sure to shout you out on Twitter.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones like as I said, like when I do these predictions, I actually don't do it based on the stats and the trends all the time. Like I will do it based on my heart if I feel like there's a legit shot it could happen.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that I noticed, Malcolm, is I didn't realize you were such a big fan of The Holdovers. Screenplay and now Best Actor. You're obviously a big fan of this movie, so it warms my heart that you love The Holdovers so much.
Well, if Malcolm ends up being right, to me, there's our answer what number 2 is. Because if it were to win acting, especially if he's right and it wins 2 acting and it wins screenplay, to me, okay, we already know what our number 2 is then.
Yeah, I got you.
Well, I mean, I was about to say, like, I don't think you probably didn't watch my when we did the top 12 movies of 2023 at the start of the. Actually, no, Wonka was my number. No, The Holdovers is now my number 1 movie of the year anyway.
Yeah.
When I did it at the start of the year, it was Wonka, but I saw Holdovers later. But anyway, moving on from one close race to another, Best Actress. Lewis, what do you have for Best Actress?
Oh, I gotta start this. Well, this is the one above the line race that is truly a toss-up. Like, yeah, there's potential for original screenplay to screenplay to see an upset, but this is one where it really is a pure coin toss. So for a while there, I thought I was going to go with Emma, and you would think that it would make sense for me to go with Emma because I'm arguing Poor Things is number 2. I'm arguing Poor Things is going to pull off the second most Oscars. I'm arguing that Poor Things is going to do a sweep of the crafts. If that happens and I'm right, and I'm sitting there watching Oscar night, and if I'm right and Poor Things wins makeup, production design, costume design, then at that point I'm thinking, wow, Emma really could still pull this off and win actress. If I were an Academy voter, just for full discretion, I would vote for Emma personally. But when I was looking at the stats, and I am a stats guy, I am a data guy. It goes back to my old days when I used to write about elections before I got bored of that and wanted to write about movies. History, to my surprise, because I thought it would be on Emma's side, is actually on Lily's side. The statistical models that I have looked at show Lily to be a slight favorite. Now, that surprises me because Lily didn't even get BAFTA, which should be a red flag. But at the same time, Emma not winning at SAG, and SAG usually is about the bigger movie stars, is also a potential red flag. And while I do think Poor Things is going to win 3 Oscars, I consider those 3 Oscars to be super competitive anyway. It's not like Poor Things is running away with them. So I'm probably going to regret this, but last year I didn't go with the person who seemed to have the momentum, and I ended up regretting it. Now, do I think Lily is Michelle Yeoh? Not quite. Michelle was part of the Best Picture winner that broke the above the line Oscar record. Even Oppenheimer's not going to do that unless Emily Blunt somehow wins. But I do think there is momentum there for her. And historically, whoever goes last does tend to win. I might regret this. And again, if it were up to me, I would be voting for Emma. But I am going to predict Lily Gladstone here. And how confident do I feel about it? I don't feel confident at all because this is the most 50-50 of arguably of all the races. Like, at least visual effects, we can at least talk about creator doing so well at Visual Effects Society. This is just, I if I wanted to, I could change my mind every hour. But I've decided once and for all, I am predicting Lily Gladstone to pull off history.
Ballsy.
Yeah, this is the legit definition of 50-50 because both Emma and Lily got a Golden Globe Award. Emma got BAFTA and Lily got SAG. So,
yeah.
like,
and Emma won Critics' Choice, but Lily won with HCA, who did have crossover voters with Critics' Choice.
Well, I was just sort of taking in the industry.
Well, okay,
So I was getting into but that even then that still just plays into my whole 50-50
Yeah.
argument anyway. But this is one of those ones I was thinking about because I know there's a stat of Kate Winslet being the youngest person to get like 6 wins in a short span of time. It was something. It's something like that. But I think Emma is in a good position to potentially either break or tie that record. Because I think if Emma Stone keeps getting nominated, like she could be a big force in the future Oscars. But this is one of those ones like I'm sort of leaning towards Emma Stone here. Like nothing against Lily Gladstone. Like I do think she was good in the movie. I think Emma Stone was better. And it's one of those ones like, and this is one of those ones I can see going, just like Best Actor, I can see this going either way. Like, I wouldn't be upset if I'm wrong here, but ultimately I'm going with my heart, and my heart is with my future wife, hopefully Emma Stone. But
what kind of dream world are you living in, Malcolm?
Well, I mean,
isn't Emma married?
Probably.
Yes.
Look,
you might have to wait for her to get that divorce.
Look, almost everyone that I've got a celeb crush on is taken by in some way or another. Like Taylor Swift is another one of my celeb crushes. She's taken by Travis Kelce at the moment. So,
she'll eventually dump him. Don't worry about it, Malcolm.
Yeah.
But anyway, Dan, who are you going for Best Actress?
By the way, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but I just want to make it clear. While I am predicting Lily, if I were a voter, I would vote for Emma. I would be very happy for Emma if she won. And even though I wouldn't vote for Lily, I would be happy if I'm right and she wins, not just because it means I was right, but because at least we get a really historic win and she'll do a great speech. So I know there's a lot of people yapping back and forth about it. Personally, I would be happy with whichever of the two won.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lewis, you make a lot of good points, and I think the narrative for Lily Gladstone here is almost more important than the fact that she won at SAG, in my opinion. I think the fact that she would be the first Native American woman to win a lead or supporting acting Oscar in the history of the Academy Awards, to me, is a narrative that is so strong for Lily Gladstone. I mean, so strong. But my thing is, once again, I'm going off the things that Lewis said earlier, and Lewis has been saying all along, Killers of the Flower Moon has just shown so much weakness. You're telling me this is going to be a one-off for Killers of the Flower Moon? It's going to be in Best Actress, and then you have Poor Things potentially winning costumes, makeup, production design, 3 Oscars, and you're not going to – that's just, okay, whatever. That's not going to correlate to something. And
okay.
we know the makeup Oscar has correlated to something in the past. Yeah. It keeps correlating to something every year. If it's Oppenheimer, it could makeup could correlate to Oppenheimer. And we all know it could correlate to Poor Things. So if it does win makeup and hairstyling, you got an acting Oscar. You could potentially get 2 acting Oscars for Oppenheimer with Murphy and Downey Jr. So I think that this stat is one that you can't overlook, the fact that makeup and hairstyling has correlated to a win. Because if Maestro does win, that's a one-off for for makeup and hairstyle. The last time we did get Vice, which was stupid. It should have been. He should have won by that Best Actor. I'm not going to get Malcolm to give me a hard time about that, but Christian Bale probably should have. I know Malcolm and the people did not want to vote, and it was too soon from the George W. Bush, the George W. Bush presidency, where what's his name was the vice president. It was too soon off of that. So they weren't going to give it to him playing that character. You know what I mean? So I just think it's Emma Stone here. I think everything except for the one thing, the SAG. It's the only thing that points against Emma Stone here. There's so many different stats, and Lewis is all about the stats. I think there's so many different things that point to Emma Stone winning. And if what you think is right, it's going to win costumes and it's going to win makeup, that correlates to an actor or an actress. And I think this year that's Emma Stone. Even though she's not the actor/actress that is getting the makeup and all that stuff. It's other actors in that movie, but it correlates. And so I'm going with Emma Stone here. I'll say congratulations, Lewis. You got if that is the case that Lily ends up winning.
Well, I mean, I get what you're saying, and trust me, like for the longest time, that was what made me think I was going to go with Emma. But I looked at the stats, and to my surprise, because again, I was not expecting this, they actually lean more towards Lily than I thought they would. I will point this out. So far, of the anonymous ballots I've been able to find, it's literally a tie between these two women, which goes to show you how close this race is with the small sample size that we've gotten from actual Oscar voters. To your point about that Killers has fallen off, I think that's a good point. However, it's not like we haven't seen something like that before. Remember 2 years back, West Side Story was kind of getting weaker, but Ariana DeVos, that narrative around her and her performance, she was still able to be a solo win for that film. So I think that's the thing, is that Lily is almost like when people want to hang out with a cast this award season, it's been the Oppenheimer cast. When they gravitate to a certain person around the room, it's been Lily. She's the one who they want to hang out with. She's the one that they want to talk to. Even when she's sitting there with Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese, she's the one they want to talk to. Emma has been very happy for Lily. She's been cheering for her as well. They've been cheering for each other. Again, I think you guys make very good points for Emma. Very good points. There's a lot here that makes sense. But I think that the momentum at the end is just enough there for Lily, and she's got the narrative that I could see her being the sole win for the movie. Now, that being said, if I am correct that Poor Things is going to do well with the crafts, that's going to make me sweat until the envelope is open. But if you see Poor Things underperform, if you see Maestro win makeup, Barbie win production design and costumes, then at that point, it's might not be looking good for Emma in actress.
And just quickly, because I'm pretty sure we've had this argument a bit, makeup and hairstyling is not just for aesthetics. Like any makeup and stuff they use counts. So it's not always just aesthetics. It always seems to lean that way a lot of the time.
What's that situation where they tend to vote for the most makeup, even though there's more? I mean, we saw Barbie get snubbed just because they wanted to ignore all the hair work in Barbie.
But I mean, even then, I think I just don't think the makeup side of it was that strong anyway.
Well, Mark Ruffalo did get in for Best Supporting Actor. Remember that? So it's hair. Remember he had that crazy hairdo. You know, Mark Ruffalo did, and mustache.
I mean,
but yeah,
to be honest with you, Dan, I didn't predict Poor Things in Makeup just because of that actress. I actually picked it more just because of how strong I believe the movie to be.
but anyway, moving on to Best Director. I can't remember who started off that now, but Lewis, who do you have for Best Director?
Well, let me tell you what. I think that this is going to be a little bit of a controversial choice, but I'm going to go with Christopher Nolan. I mean, look, how did we go from an exciting 50-50 debate on actress to such an easy one? I mean, Nolan has this more wrapped up than Oppenheimer has supporting actor and picture wrapped up. This is Nolan all the way. It's his moment. I've been binging his movies because it's going to be his moment. And it's long overdue. Christopher Nolan has this in the bag.
Yeah, I'm going to go for an outside shot of Greta Gerwig walking up with a steel chair, taking out Nolan and just stealing the wolf for herself. But no, I've got Nolan winning here. Once again, I don't think there's anyone really close to it. But I think it's one of those ones like if the Academy really loves Poor Things as much as you think they might, what I could potentially see maybe cause a bit of an upset is maybe they do what they have done in a few times in the past, is there ends up being a split between director and picture, and maybe Yorgos wins. But I think there's a really outside shot, if anything.
A 0.1% shot, Malcolm. 0.1%.
Well, I mean, I think saying that for any of I think out of the four remaining people, I think the only one that could potentially maybe cause an upset would be Yorgos, just with the fact of they might love Poor Things that much. And
I actually would actually say number 2 is Glazer.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those ones. I'm not too sure about that, but that being said, it's going to be Nolan. Like, there's really no too much of a debate on this. But Dan, who do you have for Best Director?
Dan, tell us why Justine Triet is going to make history.
She's going to walk out with 2 Oscars. No, that would be crazy. That would be wild if that happened. Now, this is a career Oscar for Nolan. Not only did he make the best movie of the year, he directed it and he wrote it. And I think if you go back, he's been doing this for close to 20 something years. This guy deserves to win an Oscar. He made a movie that is so he made this movie at the right time, because with wars going on in Israel and Ukraine, and we got nuclear armaments in China and Russia and North Korea potentially, and it is such a topical thing right now in the world. And I've always said this, and Lewis is my witness to this, Malcolm. Usually the movie that wins Best Picture and the director that goes with it, it comes out for the right reasons. It's the one that people are gravitated towards for the right reasons. And I think he just happened to make the right movie at the right time in his career. And I think Christopher Nolan's finally going to get an Oscar for Best Director, and I think he's also going to win for Best Picture. I mean, this is the double. I think he could get the treble. He could get 3. Screenplay, picture, and director. But yeah, this is a no-brainer. 500 points on Gold Derby for Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, I mean, I will slightly disagree in the fact that Nolan decided to make it because of the war and stuff that was going on. I think it was just a case of Universal wanted him to make a movie for them. It's like, we'll give you what you want. You can choose pick a topic you really want to make a movie about, and we'll support you. Get you away from the anti-art studio of Warner Brothers. But moving on to Best Picture, just we're not really running short on time, but I'm pretty sure it's going to go the same way anyway. But does anyone not have Oppenheimer winning Best Picture?
No.
I just want to make the point that last year, even though we all pretty much knew everyone was going to win Best Picture, I saw some people trying to be ballsy and predict Top Gun, predict All Quiet. I mean, they were in the minority, but I saw some people trying to make ballsy. I have not found one person, not one, that thinks that Oppenheimer's going to lose. I'm sure you can find some Yahoo out there that will wants to put their reputation on the line, but I have not found one person who thinks Oppenheimer's going to lose. And in fact, I was able to find the betting market favorites going all the way back to the mid 70s, and Oppenheimer is on track to break the all-time record for betting favorite. Think about that. More favored than juggernauts like Schindler's List, Titanic, Return of the King. That's how heavily favored this movie is. And in the anonymous ballots, Oppenheimer is easily pulling away. I've actually gone ahead and put it through a ranked choice vote. I'm not just basing it on what got the number one votes. I'm putting it through a ranked choice vote. Oppenheimer is easily winning it. I don't think anyone in their right mind thinks anything else is going to win but Oppenheimer.
To quickly bounce back on what you were saying about last year, I don't think it was a case of them trying to be ballsy. I think it was more of a case of a lot of people didn't think that a weird movie like Everything Everywhere All at Once could actually legitimately win Best Picture at the Oscars. I think that was the case where you had people sort of making these, when they were doing predictions, predicting something that they think the Oscars themselves are going to go for, because a lot of people's opinions on the Oscars is that they're this highbrow thing, like anything that's weird and wacky or like IP centric or like not a drama is really hard to get to win Best Picture. And I think Oppenheimer is one of the perfect movies that the Oscars typically go for anyway.
Yeah.
So I think everyone going for Oppenheimer this year, I don't think it's that impossible. I think it's just one of those things. Like, I think it's one of those movies that people know the Oscars typically go for anyway. So
and to be fair, one of the things that was interesting about Everything Everywhere last year is that even when it got that front runner status and never let it go, it still was able sort of to play as an underdog, even though it was the favorite. And we did see it slip up at Globes and BAFTA. Whereas Oppenheimer has been the favorite since Barbenheimer weekend, and it didn't slip up at Globes and BAFTA.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that Everything Everywhere didn't have moments where it was weak, but yeah. But with that being said, that is the end of Gone From Winter this week.
I got one more thing to say, Malcolm, before we close this thing out.
Well, he's about to pick holdovers in picture.
I'm changing my prediction in makeup. I'm going to go with Oppenheimer.
What?
I'm going with Oppenheimer.
Dan, listen to me. Oh my God, Dan! If you're going to predict to pull off an upset, why not go with production design?
Because I want to get the makeup thing. I want the makeup to correlate to something, to actor and actress. And I don't know. I've been thinking about the Maestro thing, and it'd be a one-off, and I really want to see Maestro win makeup, but I'm going to go with Oppenheimer, just for the hell of it. I have to hold up to my bargain of saying 10 predictions, and Oppenheimer winning makeup in all the other ones would get 10 wins for it.
If Maestro wins, never forget that you had it until the very last second before the end of the show.
All right. So you think I should switch back to Maestro? Is that it?
I mean, I'm just warning you because if me and Malcolm are wrong, at least we're wrong about a close race. You're going with the outside shot.
Yeah. Because my thing, and I don't want to argue about this. This isn't about arguing. My thing is this: the guild of whatever, they vote for it. They have their awards and they vote for things, right? The guilds, specific guilds, and they did vote for Maestro, right? I think when the whole entire academy gets to vote, they're going to see the name of the best picture winner, the best director, the best actor, the best supporting actor. They're going to see that juggernaut that is Oppenheimer. And I think the average Academy voter is just going to check that box off for Oppenheimer. They're not going to think about that Maestro won in best makeup.
Yeah.
Okay, Malcolm. But Dan. But just remember that if Maestro wins, you had it up until the very last second.
All right.
But
I'm
and to be
that.
fair
I'm gonna
to
believe that.
Lewis's point, like if Oppenheimer does win makeup, it will still correlate to one of the acting wins anyway.
Yeah.
Like
I changed it. I switched back to Maestro. I got rid of
Okay.
I got rid of it.
Okay, so I talked some sense into you.
I got rid of it. I went
Just
back
remember to thank me if Maestro does win.
right.
I got rid of it. I switched it back. I went back to Maestro. All right. You convinced me. So that means I have it predicting to win 9 Academy Awards, not 10.
I mean, well, me and Malcolm, I believe, predict 8. I mean, we're predicting it to do a little better than Everything Everywhere did last year. It's going to be one of the bigger winners.
But
Sorry,
anyway,
Sorry,
that is gone off the win for this week. We'll be back next week when we talk about the
winners. We're going to react to the Academy Awards.
Yeah,
me getting the most right.
Potential. I haven't quite decided yet. Potentially next Sunday, I'm thinking about doing a Oscars watch along on Take 3. Obviously, Dan and Lewis will be out at various parties, so that probably won't be there. But if I decide to do it, I'll probably be seeing if anyone wants to join, because I probably won't do it if it's just myself, because no one really wants to see just me talk. Dan, where can people find you online?
You can find me right there at I am a film critic in Orlando, Florida, and I write for a website called FromTheFourthRow.com, and I previously wrote for a website. You can still find my reviews there, hundreds of them, at disappointmentmedia.com. Also, I'm just dropped this week, Picture This, where I'm on the Dill Pickle movie network, and I did an episode of Picture This with those guys, where we revisit the Academy Awards, and we revisited 1943. That's a 3.5-hour episode. If you want to go back and if you want to watch that, go to the Dill Pickle Movie Network and watch me and those guys, Dylan Randazzo and Chadwick Webb, discuss the 1943 Academy Awards Best Pictures. And they've been on the Picture This a few times before, so I try to support them and go and support them. Also, I'm starting a new series where I'm going to be doing actors and directors and people, their filmographies and things like that. And I'm going to be having the first episode on Thursday night, going down his memory lane, where you get to kind of revisit people that you remember from years past in the filmographies or whatever. So that'll be on Thursday night, and I'm going to be starting my other show up pretty soon. My 4th season, you could probably see that over the summer, but Bleacher Features is going to be starting back up. So, yeah, and every week right here with Malcolm and Lewis on Gone with the Wind.
But Lewis, where can people find you online?
MendesMovieReport.com. Some written movie reviews from me, my Oscar projections, links to other places you can find me, list of my favorite movies from certain years. You can see my personal ballot, so you can know how I voted with the critics groups that I belong to. If you want to find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Letterboxd, Twitter /X, Mendes Movie RPT, and that's where you can find me.
Also, that's the same thing with me. With X, my name, Dan Allen or DP Skip Allen. Same thing, Threads, DP Skip Allen, Instagram, DP, or From the Fourth Row, Instagram, Letterboxd is the same thing, Dan Skip Allen. So Facebook is Dan Skip Allen as well. So I forgot to say that, Malcolm. Sorry.
And you can find me on Take 3 Productions, where I host Rankum every week. Next week, it's not going to be on Sunday, but I'm looking at maybe Saturday. But Rank will be back next week. We're doing top 12 best actress winners of the Oscars, obviously. But you can also find me hosting God of the Wind. We've already mentioned that earlier. I also do trivia over on Full Metal, and I also do Tournament Fights Movie Heroes. I'll be on this week. We're doing 2004 Letter Series, but yeah, that's where you can find me. And but until next time, just enjoy the movies, and it's
The
going to
Oscars.
be
Take her away, Ian.
Yeah, take it away, Ernie. It's going to be a